Here it is. Goodness gracious, it's 10:30 at night. I had no idea I'd start a video this late in the day, but I've already had a long nap, and while I was napping, the phone rang, and I was in such a deep sleep it was all I could do to get to the phone. Couldn't find the phone. I have a tendency to lay it down somewhere, and it looked like my remote control. You know how you have two or three remote controls, and they all look like your cell phone. And so it was my sister, and she was calling to see how my birthday went, and so I called her back uh, and gave her, a rundown on yesterday's events, and I must say it's probably one of the best days I've ever had. Everything was so perfect. The friends were so sweet. And the first thing I want you to do is look at my new glasses. Take a look at those. That was a gift from Susan. I had no idea. Well, of course, Jan was backing Susan, giving her the information, telling her what size lens I needed and what have you. These, I think, are called snake eyes. They are just gorgeous, and I don't think I ever want to take them off. They're so pretty, and I'm just so appreciative. I hope they don't break or anything. Anything you get anymore is made of plastic, and you can expect it to chip, break, or fall apart or something. But I think these are very well made glasses from what I can tell, and I think I look pretty in them. I just wish I could get the glare out of the lens because I can't use one of those rings that focus on the person, because when I do, it shows the little white ring of the light in my glasses. So that's a waste of time trying to get the glare like you're seeing now. Anyway, I just want Susan to know how much I love my glasses, and I may be taking a look at that website, see what else I can find. But somehow I have a feeling I'm going to be wearing these glasses a lot. So let's get on with today. Today's Friday, the day before Derby Day. Are you ready? I don't keep up with the Derby. Never have, really. Oh, in my younger days, I was interested, and I would pick a horse, but I never put any money on any of the horses because I'm not the type of person that a winner. I just choose a horse and let it go at that. I hope the weather is good tomorrow. I just hate when we get rain on Derby Day because so many people look forward to that day, and it's just a fun day all around for anybody and everybody. So I was trying to think of something I could talk about to my viewers. You've been so kind to me. You've said so many pleasant things that you really you give me an uplift that I couldn't get any other way, and I want you to know how much I appreciate what you do for me. Now, in trying to come up with a story, I was looking through I've got a great big folder around here somewhere, about 3 inches thick, full of papers. These are papers I've had in a little trunk ever since I've lived here. I've been here 25 years. So this was paperwork when I was doing my family history and writing my book. So I started leafing through some of those papers, and I came across one this side. See? I thought, oh my gosh, what is this? This is the time of year that I tend to get a little bit sentimental. It's almost Mother's Day. I've already had my birthday. There's Memorial Day coming up. Some people really look forward to it. It is good if you get the day off work, but it can also be rather, I don't know what it is for most people, but a lot of people go to the cemeteries and they remember the deceased in the families, and they think about the past, what life used to be like, and how it is now. Well, I picked up this, and it reminded me of my brother. This is the time of year I get sentimental about my brother because of these things, Memorial Day, and the fact that he died in the month of June. And it's time for me to get my shoebox of letters out of the closet and review them again. Simple little letters that he wrote every week to my mother, sent them home, and I feel like it's my duty to keep him alive through his letters. At the same time, this big thick folder, I'm leafing through pieces of paper. Surely there's something here I can create a story out of, and I found it. Now, this is, I'm just having to nitpick on this piece of paper. This is an obituary. And this is about my brother-in-law. He's the husband of my sister, whose birthday was 2 days ago. She's the one that she used to do a newspaper article for my brother's weekly newspaper, and it was just usually a little humorous story of some sort. So, it having been her birthday, and I ran across the obituary of her husband. I read through it and I thought, I think my viewers would be interested in this little story. We try to go back in history. We try to create our memories on paper. Now it's a wonderful thing that we have YouTube, that they say once you put it on YouTube, it'll be there forever. I hope they're right about that, because there's so many good stories, sad stories, happy stories, just everyday stories that people like to hear about. They like to learn about the past, and we need to know about the past. We need to know how to create a better future. You know what? I'm looking straight at my window, and I'm seeing a bright light, and it looks like it's the moon. It's kind of such a glare that it would hurt your eyes. So I'm having to move over a little bit so it doesn't hit me right in the face. Anyway, back to my story. My brother-in-law's name was Raymond Severs. He was born in 1922. He died in 1992. He served in the U.S. Army during World War II. And this obituary gives a little bit of the history of him while he was in military service. And I'm going to read a little bit. It's easier to read than it is for me to try to remember what to tell. He worked at Y12 in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. That's where all of the goings on were with the atom bomb. So his future was held in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. He worked in a Y12 plant beginning about 1953, and that's where he retired. He served in Europe during World War II with the 246th Signal Operation Company of the U.S. Army, attached to the 3rd Army under General George Patton. Everybody knows who General Patton was. His tour of duty included the invasion of Normandy and battles in Belgium, France, and Germany. Think about that, folks. You know the history of World War II. Imagine all of the men and women who were serving at the same place as he was. Now, I'm telling this about my brother-in-law because he never would talk about the war. He didn't want to talk about it, and I can understand that because we can look back at our own history and we wouldn't want to talk about it either. I told you he served in the invasion of Normandy. I never would question him about that because I couldn't imagine what it must have been like. Now, what I want to get to is he was serving under General George Patton. My brother-in-law was an electrician, and General Patton, I think he had a mental problem because he was always concerned about the telephones in his office. He was just sure that the Japanese were going to get through his telephone lines. And day after day, he would have an electrician come in, change the phone, change the wiring, everything that had to be done in order to put in a new telephone system. That soldier, that electrician that came in, sometimes on a daily basis, to change the telephone system was my brother-in-law, Raymond. He said General Patton would sit at his desk, arms folded, and while he was down on the floor under the table, changing the wires and doing whatever you have to do to change the telephone system, General Patton sat there with his arms folded, staring at him. He stared at him the whole time he worked, never said a word. Day after day, General Patton was there. Got to change the telephone system. Nothing will be kept secret if we don't have a safe telephone system. So there was my brother again. He could feel General Patton staring at him every day. One day he's down on the floor under the table working with the wires, and General Patton said to him, "Why haven't you got your helmet on? Where's your helmet?" Well, you know, it just stands to reason when you're doing a job like that, you would, if you wore a helmet, doesn't it make sense you take the helmet off because you're in close quarters and it's not easy to work in a condition like that. And his helmet was on the floor beside him. And General Patton said, "Get that helmet on." Well, my brother-in-law lost a stripe just for having the helmet sitting on the floor instead of on his head. Very strange man was General Patton. Now I want to move on from that to when he was discharged in 1945. 1945 is when the war ended. He attended a small college at Elizabethton where he had a roommate. Now listen closely. Many of you are going to recognize this name, and you should. His roommate at the college was Francis Gary Powers. Recognize that name? I thought you would. You remember he piloted a U-2 plane that was shot down over the Soviet Union. Raymond was an athletic young man. He was a star football player. I had seen him at the swimming pool on a high dive. He would come off that diving board straight as a pencil into that water. Oh, never a more beautiful dive. He loved to fish. He loved to hunt. There were so many things he enjoyed doing in life. And he was a terrific electrician. In fact, I had to get him to come and I think I had him change the thermos in my tap and range. That's my big tap and range that I've shown you pictures of from the range was dated 1958. You've seen that video, and if you haven't, you should. It was my tap and range. That's the title. Be sure and take a look at it, because you're going to more or less envy me having owned that kitchen stove. So Raymond was the one that would change the thermos for me. Now, I want to get this in right order. There was the story of Francis Gary Powers. He was shot down in a secret CIA U-2 spying mission over the Soviet Union. This was my brother-in-law's roommate in college after the war. Now this was later. This was after the war when this happened. Because Francis Gary what was his last name? He died in a helicopter crash in 1977. But some of you may recall there was a movie, and I'm not sure what year it was. Tom Hanks played in this movie. It was called Bridge of Spies. That movie was about Francis Gary Powers. You think about that. My brother-in-law knew this man. He was roommates with him after the war. Now, I have seen the movie Bridge of Spies. It's been several years. Tom Hanks, you'll recall that too. I never quite understood the movie, and I think I would like to watch it again because I didn't understand it then. But I also wanted to tell you the story of my brother-in-law, who he was, the roommate of Francis Gary Powers. He was the man who kept General George Patton's telephone system in order during World War II. He was a man that was included in the invasion of Normandy, the battles in Belgium, France, and Germany. Now, there was one little interesting story I didn't want to leave out, because while he was in Germany, his older brother was also somewhere at another station in Germany. They hadn't seen each other in at least a year. I can't remember exactly, but it was between a year and 2 years they hadn't seen each other. But they were close enough now that if they both took a bus, they could meet halfway and arrive at a destination about noon. They could spend an hour or two together, and then they had to get back on the bus and head back to the base. Well, there they are together, 1 hour. You'll think of that. It's been a year. It's been 2 years since you've seen your brother, and you spend the whole day on a bus just to spend 1 hour with him. They're standing on the side of the road. Along comes one of those big trucks. You've seen them in all the movies with the back of the truck is filled with soldiers. And guess who was on the truck with all of those soldiers? Now keep in mind, my brother-in-law was born and raised in Tennessee, near Oak Ridge, Tennessee, small town called Clinton. So he's standing there in line with all the rest of the soldiers. Big day today. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten her name. Somebody's got to help me. She's from Tennessee. How could I do that? She's a singer. She was a girlfriend of Burt Reynolds. Why can't I think of her name? Simple, everybody knew her. Everybody loved her. And she stands on the back of that truck, and she's waving to the soldiers, and she points to my brother-in-law and says, "Soldier, where are you from?" And he yelled, "Tennessee." She squealed. You'll know who she is. She was from Tennessee. She was a singer. She did a commercial, a Chevrolet commercial. And I can remember everything about her except her name. Why do we do that? I'm 89 years old now. That's the reason. That's the reason I can't remember her name. And I should have written it right on this piece of paper, because I should have known that the minute I started to say her name, it would slip from my mind. But I thought this was an interesting little story. I'm going to think of it the minute I turn this video off. And you're going to know who she is. See the USA in your Chevrolet? America's the greatest place to be. That was her commercial. And think of how he felt. Think about how she felt when she pointed to him and said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "I'm from Tennessee." And she said, "Wonderful. I'm from Tennessee too. Everybody knows her." I'm going to have to give up on that name. And about 24 of you are going to come back and tell me who she was. We'll just call this a little game here and say who can guess who the movie star was and the singer. She was more a singer than she was a movie star. And I'm waiting to hear what you have to say, because this lady's 89 years old now, and she's getting forgetful. I'll be the first to tell you that. Yeah. Won't you take another look at my new glasses? Aren't they gorgeous? Keep looking. See those little stones? And those snake eyes? Don't look at me. Look at my glasses. I'm going to be wearing these a lot, so you'll get used to seeing them. I got home yesterday after my birthday party. I was like a celebrity. I felt like a celebrity. I felt so good. And I think part of it had to do with this nice big dining room and people enjoying a beautiful, beautiful lunch that day. And 6 ladies in the room were wearing derby hats. They were sitting at my table, all 6 of them, at my table. And we took a lot of pictures. They've been put on Facebook. I wish I could have put them on here, but I don't know how to do that. But if you go to Facebook, you'll find there's one picture of all 6 of us sitting at the table before the dinner was served. And I'm telling you, these are the prettiest ladies you've ever seen. They were, 6 of them. One of them was my daughter, and the other one was my granddaughter. So that left 1, 2, 3 more girls. Pretty as picture. And we had a wonderful lunch. If you ever get to Nonesuch, Irish Acres, now this was a schoolhouse that I don't know how many years ago it was, but it 2 floors, and it is packed full of antiques, beautiful antiques of all kinds. The 2 ladies that own the shop and the little Glitz restaurant are wonderful hostesses. They've got everything down perfect. And they've become friends of Jan and me. Jan's known them for a long time now. But the funniest thing was, people, when Jan was out, it's my mother's 89th birthday. Oh, everybody would look and listen. They got excited, and one lady says, "Oh, my mother's going to be 90 years old soon, and I'm giving her a birthday party." And I looked at the lady and I said, "And I want to be on the invitation list for your mother's birthday party. Oh, yes, she would. She was with her husband. You never met a more delightful lady in your life. She was so excited about my birthday. Now, we had just gotten settled around the table, and she came up and she said, "Can I sing a song to you?" Well, that kind of surprises you a little, total stranger. Sure. And she starts singing. She sings "Happy Birthday" to you in Arabic. She stood above me and sang that song to me, and it was so sweet, so wonderful. And she told us she'd been coming to the Glitz every year. I don't know how often, but since 1998. Jan told her, said, "I think that's about the time I started coming to the Glitz. And we only go there once or twice a year. That's one of those places you take your special guest, your special friend, the birthday girl, the anniversary couple. That's where you take them if you want to give them a really special treat on their special day. Don't forget that, because if you're anywhere in the area, you will want to eat at the Glitz, and be sure and note you have to have reservations. Now, recently, the Glitz has been putting their little, it's not an ad on Facebook, it's a menu. Once a week, they put their menu for the menu's the same all week long. But you can look on Facebook and see what they will be serving for their main meal. They give you the list of the appetizers, everything. And that way you can even plan what you're going to order before you go to the Glitz. That way, when you get there, you don't even need a menu. But they set the most beautiful table. The tableware they use is different, always different. Clear glass plates, clear glass bowls. Some have designs I just can't begin to describe the enchantment. It's almost like a fairy, walking into a fairy tale when you walk into that room, and you will enjoy one of the best meals you've ever had when you go to the Glitz. Oh, by the way, I've got their cookbook. I had to have their cookbook. So anything that you order when you're there, you will find the recipe in their cookbook. And I guarantee you can't go wrong. So, this birthday is over. Mother's Day is next week. And I told Jan and Jessica, I said, we don't need to celebrate Mother's Day. Not for me. This birthday has been the best thing I've had in years. And I won't forget it anytime soon. Ladies, I just hope you can have the same pleasure on your birthday that I have had this week. It's unforgettable. It's delightful. I met lots of ladies yesterday. Don't know who they were. Never seen them before in my life. but you'd have thought they were my best friend or my next door neighbor. Now that's what I call a birthday. Really. They were as excited for me as I was. That doesn't happen very often. Now I wanted to kind of go over my birthday with you, and it was such a delight wearing that big black and white. Oh, it was huge, um, big brim, and had a great big fancy bow on the front. Who would have thought I'd look good in that? But I did. I really looked good in my derby hat, but I didn't have to go to the derby to wear it. Right offhand, I can't think of anything different, anything extra. I just wanted to, while I had the piece of paper handy, it was among all of my files of family history and stuff, and it just popped right out. And I said, this is a story my viewers should see. Everybody has heard of or seen the movie Bridge of Spies. I didn't understand the movie when I saw it. I would like to see it again. And Tom Hanks plays the role of an attorney that has been hired to defend Francis Gary Powers because he, let's see, how was it? Because he was flying a mission over the Soviet Union and the plane crashed. So, anyway, that tells you a little bit about someone in my family, and he had a stroke and he died in 1992. And I'm going to tell you this, ladies, and I'm serious. He was probably the handsomest man I've ever seen. Very, very handsome. And as his hair began turning gray, he was even more handsome. So, I'll let you go now. It's almost my bedtime, and you're probably already in bed. So let me know what you think about my story. And I have had so many comments. I'm going to tell you this. I think I got a blister on the end of my finger from clicking all those little hearts on your comments. A lot of comments. Now, I said, well, goodness gracious, I'm going to have a sore on the end of my finger from clicking so many comments. But I sure am glad they were there to click. So, I'm going to have a little drink of my Dr. Pepper. I know a lot of people don't think that's a good idea for me to be drinking Dr. Pepper. But you know what? My mother drank it till the day she died. It didn't kill her, I don't think. I've been drinking it for years, since I was a little girl. I just enjoy Dr. Pepper. I've never been a milk drinker, never been a coffee drinker. I'm just one of those weird old women that, what does she like? I like Dr. Pepper. So, have a Dr. Pepper with me. And I'll be seeing you later. Thank you for watching.